I was elbow deep in flour, rolling out pie crust for my grandmother's birthday, when my phone lit up on the kitchen counter. It was a text from my mother. Surprise! Dad and I just closed on a villa in Costa Rica. Use the college fund and Nana's savings to make it happen. Don't worry, we left you girls a little something. Enjoy the bakery. XOXO. I wiped my hands on my apron, read it again, and then I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. Because 3 days ago, I'd already moved every single dollar into an account she couldn't touch. And the money she thought she'd taken? That was the bait. If you've ever been the person in your family who holds everything together while everyone else falls apart, you already know how this story starts, but you don't know how it ends. And trust me, you want to hear this. My name is Marin Cole. I'm 31 years old, and I'm a forensic accountant. I know not exactly the glamorous career my parents dreamed of for me, but it turns out that being the person who finds where money disappears to is a pretty useful skill when your own parents are the ones making it vanish. Let me tell you about Cloverfield. That's the name of our family property, about 40 minutes outside of Asheville, North Carolina. It's 11 acres of rolling green hills, a farmhouse that's been in my grandmother's family since 1952, and a small but beloved bakery that my older sister, Josie, runs out of the converted carriage house. Cloverfield isn't a mansion. The porch sags on one side. The plumbing makes sounds at night that could pass for a horror movie soundtrack. But it's home. It's my grandmother, Nana Ruth's entire world. Nana Ruth is 83. She had a stroke 2 years ago that left her with partial mobility on her right side and the kind of memory that flickers like a candle in a draft. Some mornings she wakes up sharp, cracking jokes about her physical therapist. Other mornings she calls me by my mother's name and asks why the dog isn't barking. We haven't had a dog in 15 years. After the stroke, she set up a trust. $300,000. The rules were simple and legally airtight, or so she thought. The money was for two purposes only: maintaining Cloverfield as a family home and covering her medical expenses as they grew. My parents, Greg and Diane, were named as co-trustees alongside me. That was Nana Ruth's one mistake. She trusted her own daughter. My sister Josie is 2 years older than me and approximately 10 times more optimistic. She took over the bakery when Nana got sick and poured her whole heart into it. She does the sourdough at 4 in the morning. She decorates the cakes. She hangs fairy lights in the windows every season and names every pie on the menu after a different old country song. The bakery barely breaks even, but it brings people to Cloverfield, and it gives Nana Ruth something to smile about on her good days. I handle the other side: the bills, the taxes, the insurance, the medical invoices that arrive in thick envelopes and always seem to cost more than the month before. I'm the one who sits at the kitchen table at midnight with a calculator and a glass of wine, trying to figure out how to keep the lights on for another quarter. And then, there are my parents. Greg and Diane Cole are, to the outside world, absolutely delightful. My mother is the kind of woman who brings homemade lemon bars to every neighborhood event and remembers everyone's birthday. My father tells the best stories at dinner parties. They're fun. They're charming. They're the couple everyone envies. But behind closed doors, they are children. Entitled, reckless, perpetually unsatisfied children who have spent their entire adult lives believing that the universe owes them something extraordinary and that the rest of us exist to fund it. They ran through my father's inheritance from his side in 5 years, a boat they never used, a timeshare in Cancun they visited once, a sports car that spent more time in the shop than on the road. When that money dried up, they turned their attention to Cloverfield, to Nana Ruth's money. I first noticed the irregularities about 8 months ago. Small things. A withdrawal here and there labeled property maintenance, a charge listed as medical consultation specialist. But I'm a forensic accountant. I don't just look at numbers. I look at patterns, and the pattern was wrong. The property maintenance charges were hitting on weekends, at amounts that matched high-end restaurant bills. The specialist consultations were happening at spas, 2 counties over. I cross-referenced the dates with Nana Ruth's actual medical calendar. She had 3 appointments that month. The trust showed 9. I pulled 6 months of statements and laid them out on my bedroom floor like a crime scene. The math was devastating. They had drained nearly $47,000 in phantom expenses, and the rate was accelerating. I tried to talk to Josie. I sat her down in the bakery after closing, surrounded by the smell of cinnamon and burnt sugar, and showed her the spreadsheets. She looked at them for a long time. Then she looked at me with those exhausted eyes, the eyes of a woman who wakes up at 3:30 every morning and falls asleep standing up, and she said, "Marin, I believe you. I just can't fight them right now. I don't have anything left." That's the thing about being the responsible ones. We don't just carry the weight. We carry it quietly. because if we break down, there's no one underneath to catch anything. So I carried it alone, and I watched. The signs started multiplying about 4 months ago. It was like watching someone pack for a trip they haven't told you about. Little things at first. My mother started scanning the mail before anyone else could get to it. She'd sort through it on the porch, tucking certain envelopes into her purse before coming inside. I noticed because I notice everything. It's a curse and a profession. Then my father's browsing habits changed. I walked into the living room one afternoon and he slammed his laptop shut so fast he nearly cracked the screen. "Just looking at fishing gear," he said, grinning that big gregarious grin. But I'd caught a flash of the page. Tropical real estate, gated communities, the kind of places that promise infinity pools and a fresh start in paradise. 2 weeks later, my mother cornered me in the kitchen. She'd been drinking wine, which always made her more transparent. "Marin, honey," she said, leaning against the counter with practiced casualness. I was thinking, "You're so busy with work and everything. Maybe it would be easier if Dad and I had direct access to the trust account. Just to handle the little day-to-day things so you don't have to worry about it." I looked at her over the rim of my coffee mug. "That's sweet, Mom, but the trust documents require my authorization for any withdrawal over $500. That's how Nana Ruth set it up. For protection." "Protection from what?" She laughed, but it came out sharp. "We're her family." "Exactly," I said. "And the trust protects the family. That's the whole point." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. I just thought I'd offer." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying that conversation. She wasn't offering to help. She was testing the fence. She was looking for the gate. And if she couldn't find one, I knew she'd try to cut through the wire. The guilt hit me in waves. These were my parents, the people who drove me to soccer practice and sat through every terrible school play. My mother made my Halloween costumes by hand until I was 12. My father taught me to ride a bike in the Cloverfield driveway, running alongside me with his hand on the seat. How do you prepare to go to war with people who once made you feel safe? You do it when you realize they've stopped making anyone feel safe. The moment that killed my guilt came on a Tuesday night. I was working late, going through the trust's quarterly filings, when I heard my parents in the den. The door was mostly closed. Their voices were low, but the old farmhouse has thin walls and I have sharp ears. "We've given enough," my mother said. Her voice wasn't sad. It wasn't conflicted. It was cold. Certain. 30 years of giving to this family. The farm, the bakery, mother's appointments, the girls' problems. "I'm done, Greg. I am done being the one who sacrifices." My father mumbled something I couldn't quite catch. "She's 83, my mother continued. "She could linger for years. Years, Greg. And what do we get? We get to watch her forget our names while we rot in this house. No, we take what we can, and we go. The girls will manage. Marin's smart enough to figure something out. And Josie has her little bread shop. Little bread shop. My sister, who works 18-hour days, who has carpal tunnel in both wrists from kneading dough, who hasn't taken a vacation in 4 years. Her life's work reduced to a little bread shop. And the house?" my father asked. "It's old, Greg. It needs a new roof and the foundation has cracks. Let them deal with it. Or let the bank deal with it. I don't care anymore." Let the bank deal with it. That phrase hit me like cold water. I pressed my back against the hallway wall and closed my eyes. They weren't just planning to leave. They were planning to let everything collapse behind them. I went straight to my laptop. No more watching, no more waiting. Full audit. Every account, every document, every filing connected to Cloverfield and the trust. I had done this 1,000 times for clients' companies where someone was skimming, where the numbers told a story the people wouldn't. But I'd never done it for my own family. It felt like performing surgery on myself without anesthesia. At 2 a.m, I found it. Buried in a stack of refinancing documents that my father had filed with the county clerk 6 weeks earlier, there was a home equity line of credit, taken out against Cloverfield itself. The borrower listed was Ruth Annette Cole, my grandmother. Her signature was on the document. Except my grandmother hasn't been able to sign her name legibly since the stroke. I pulled up a scan of her most recent medical authorization form, the one I'd helped her with last month. Her signature was a shaky, uneven scrawl. The signature on the loan document was smooth, confident, and perfectly formed. It was forged. My father had forged my grandmother's signature to take out an $85,000 loan against her own home. The money had been withdrawn over the past 6 weeks in a series of cash advances and wire transfers. Some went to credit card balances. Some went to an account I didn't recognize. I later found out it was a deposit on a property in Costa Rica. I sat there in the dark, my screen glowing, and I felt something shift inside me. The guilt didn't just disappear, it burned away. It was replaced by something harder, colder, and far more useful. They weren't just being selfish anymore. They were committing fraud, elder financial abuse, forgery. And if that loan defaulted, and it would, because no one was going to make the payments, the bank would foreclose. Nana Ruth would lose her home. The bakery would close. Everything my sister had built, everything my grandmother had spent her life creating, would be gone. Not because of bad luck, because my parents wanted a villa with an infinity pool. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I drove to the bank first. I sat down with the branch manager and explained that I was a co-trustee and needed to make an emergency restructure. I had the legal authority. I had the documentation. I opened a new account, the Ruth Cole Protected Preservation Fund, with only 2 authorized signatories, myself and Josie. Then I initiated the transfer. $263,000, everything remaining in the original trust, after my parents' months of theft moved into the new account. I left $12,000 in the old one, enough to look like a prize, enough to confirm what they were planning, not enough to save them from what was coming. Then I drove to see a lawyer, not a family attorney, a criminal defense attorney who also handled elder abuse cases. Her name was Patricia Langford, and she had a reputation for being ruthless in exactly the way I needed. I brought her everything: the forged loan, the phantom trust withdrawals, the documented pattern of financial exploitation. She reviewed it all in 40 minutes, looked at me over her reading glasses and said, "Your parents are in very serious trouble. How do you want to handle this?" "I want them to have a choice," I said. "But I want both options to be mine." I spent the next week preparing. I documented everything in triplicate. I made copies for the lawyer, copies for the bank, and copies for myself. I contacted the county clerk's office about the fraudulent HELOC filing. I set up alerts on every account, and then I waited. I didn't have to wait long. It was a Saturday morning. Josie was already at the bakery, prepping for the weekend rush. I was helping Nana Ruth with her morning exercises, simple stretches her therapist had prescribed. We were in the sunroom, and the light was coming through the windows in long, golden stripes. Nana Ruth was having a good day. She was humming an old hymn and telling me about the time my grandfather built the porch swing. He measured it 3 times, she said, laughing. And it still came out crooked, but I loved it. I loved everything he built because he built it for me. My parents came downstairs dressed in what I can only describe as resort casual. Linen pants, new sandals. My mother had gotten her hair done. My father was wearing sunglasses, indoors. "Morning, girls," Mom said brightly, kissing the top of Nana Ruth's head. She lingered, held her mother's face in her hands for a moment. "You look beautiful today, Mama." It was the most tender I'd seen her be in months. It made my stomach turn because I knew what it was. It was a goodbye. "We've got some errands in Charlotte," Dad said, jingling his keys. "Might be an overnight thing. Big sale at the outlet mall." He winked. "Sure, Dad," I said. "Drive safe." I watched them load 2 large suitcases into the trunk of their car. Outlet mall. Right. They pulled out of the driveway at 9:15 in the morning. I know because I checked the time. I checked everything. The hours passed. Josie came in from the bakery around 3, flour in her hair, and found me at the kitchen table with my laptop open and every document spread out in neat rows. "What is all this?" she asked. "Sit down, Josie." I told her everything: the phantom charges, the forged loan, the Costa Rica property deposit, the fact that our parents were, at that very moment, probably boarding a plane. She didn't cry. Not at first. She just sat very still, her flour-dusted hands flat on the table, and stared at the wall behind me. "How long have you known?" she whispered. "I've been watching for 8 months. I've been certain for 6 weeks. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you were barely sleeping. Because you were holding this place together with your bare hands. And because I needed to fix it before I told you, or it would have destroyed you." She looked at me then, and I saw something I'd never seen in my sister's eyes before. Not sadness, not anger, recognition. She finally saw what I'd been carrying alone. "Did you fix it?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "I fixed it." At 7:42 that evening, the text arrived. "Costa Rica, here we come. Transferred what we needed from the trust. This is OUR time, girls. Take care of Nana. We'll send pictures. Love, Mom and Dad." I showed it to Josie. She read it twice. Then she put the phone face down on the table and pressed her palms against her eyes. When she finally spoke, her voice was thick but steady. "They actually did it. They left their own mother. They left all of us," I said. "But they didn't take what they think they took." I gave it 72 hours. 3 full days. I wanted them to settle in. I wanted them to unpack. I wanted them to wake up in their new paradise and taste what they thought was victory. On Tuesday morning, my phone rang. International number, Costa Rica country code. I let it ring 4 times before I answered. This is Marin Cole. The voice on the other end was tight and panicked. It was the property manager of a luxury retirement community called Vista del Sol. A Mr. and Mrs. Cole had arrived 5 days ago. They'd moved into their unit, they'd eaten at the restaurant, they'd used the spa, and this morning, when they'd tried to finalize their residency payment, a $60,000 deposit, the transaction had been declined. Every transaction after that had also been declined. Their cards were empty. Their trust account showed a balance of $12,000. Nowhere near enough. And now Mr. Cole was in the manager's office, red-faced and screaming that his daughter had robbed him. "Could you put my father on the phone, please?" I said. There was a shuffle, a door slamming, then my father's voice, ragged with fury. "Marin, what the hell did you do?" "I protected Nana Ruth's money, Dad. That's what I did." "That was our money. We're trustees. You had no right." "I had every legal right as co-trustee to move funds when I identified unauthorized withdrawals, which I did. $47,000 in fake maintenance charges and spa visits billed as medical consultations. I documented all of it." Silence. I could hear him breathing. "And Dad, while we're talking about rights, let's talk about the $85,000 home equity line of credit you took out against Cloverfield, using Nana Ruth's forged signature." The silence turned into something different, something afraid. My mother grabbed the phone. "Marin, sweetheart, let's not blow this out of proportion. We can work this out. We just needed a little help getting started. We were going to pay it all back." "Pay it back with what, Mom?" "The first payment on that fraudulent loan is due in 3 weeks. If it defaults, the bank forecloses on Cloverfield. Nana Ruth loses her home. Were you going to pay it back with your Costa Rica sunset?" She started crying. "The performative kind. The kind that used to work on me when I was 16. "You don't understand," she sobbed. "We gave everything to this family. We deserved." "You deserve nothing you didn't earn, Mom. And you definitely don't deserve anything you stole from an 83-year-old woman with brain damage." I laid out their options. Option 1. I would wire them enough money for 2 economy tickets back to Asheville. No upgrades, no comfort. When they arrived, they would meet with me, Josie, and our attorney, Patricia Langford. They would sign over full ownership of Cloverfield to Josie and me. They would relinquish all trustee rights. In exchange, we would use the protected funds to pay off their fraudulent loan and save the property. They would be allowed to live in the small apartment above the bakery, the one with the squeaky radiator and the window that doesn't quite close, under the condition that they contribute to the property through daily farm maintenance. Supervised access to Nana Ruth. Option 2. They refuse. The fraudulent HELOC defaults. Patricia Langford files criminal charges for elder financial abuse, forgery, and fraud. We file for full conservatorship of Nana Ruth's affairs. Their names go into the county court records. Their charming reputation in Asheville becomes a mugshot. My father tried to negotiate. What about a middle ground? We keep the apartment in our name, at least. There is no middle ground, Dad. You forged your own mother's signature to steal her home. Middle ground ended the night you decided an infinity pool was worth more than her safety. They argued with each other for the rest of the day. I know because my mother called Josie 4 separate times, trying to play us against each other. Each time, Josie said the same thing. "Talk to Marin. She's handling it." It was the first time in our lives my sister had let me take the lead, and it felt like a door finally opening between us. They flew back on Thursday. Economy seats, middle row, 14 hours of travel, including a layover in Miami. Josie, Patricia Langford, and I were waiting at the Cloverfield kitchen table when their taxi pulled up. They looked smaller somehow, deflated. My mother's resort tan already fading. My father wouldn't look anyone in the eye. I slid 2 folders across the table. Folder 1 is the full accounting. Every unauthorized withdrawal. Every forged document. Every dollar you stole from your own mother's trust. Folder 2 is the transfer agreement and the terms for your continued residence at this property. Patricia Langford explained the legal implications in her calm, devastating way. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The facts were loud enough. My mother tried one last performance. "I can't believe our own daughters would treat us this way. After everything we've done for you." "What you've done for us," Josie said quietly, and I turned to look at her, because she almost never speaks up in these situations, is leave your 83-year-old mother alone so you could go live on a beach. What you've done for us is forge her name on a loan that could have taken her home. What you've done for us is call my bakery a little bread shop when it's the only thing that's kept this place alive for 2 years. My mother's mouth opened. Nothing came out. My father signed first. He didn't fight. I think some part of him had been waiting for someone to stop them. My mother signed after, her hand shaking, her jaw clenched. They moved into the apartment above the bakery that weekend. 2 suitcases of tropical clothes in a room with a squeaky radiator. Every morning at 7, my father reports to Josie for his daily tasks, mowing, painting, fixing the fence posts he'd ignored for years. My mother helps in the bakery kitchen, washing dishes and boxing orders, working alongside the daughter whose life's work she had dismissed as a hobby. The HELOC was paid off within the month. The trust is secure. Nana Ruth's care is fully funded for the foreseeable future. Last Sunday, I was sitting on my grandfather's crooked porch swing with Nana Ruth. She was having one of her clear days. She looked out at the property at the bakery with its fairy lights, at my father repainting the garden shed, at the hills rolling green and gold in the late afternoon light, and she took my hand. "Marin," she said, squeezing my fingers. "This place looks better than it has in years." "It does, Nana." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Your grandfather always said the hardest part of keeping a farm isn't the land, it's the people. The land does what it's supposed to. The people are the ones who wander off." I looked at my father on his ladder, painting the trim he'd let peel for a decade. "Some of them wander back," I said. She smiled. "Only if someone's strong enough to bring them." Josie came out with a tray of pie and 3 mugs of coffee. She handed one to Nana Ruth, one to me, and kept one for herself. She sat down on the porch steps and leaned her head against the railing, and for the first time in years, she didn't look exhausted. She just looked at peace. We sat there together, the 3 of us, watching the sun go down over the property that was finally, legally, completely ours. My parents still live above the bakery. They do their chores. They eat dinner at the main house twice a week, supervised, silent, and small. Sometimes I catch my mother staring out the window at the hills, and I wonder if she's thinking about Costa Rica, about infinity pools and fresh starts, and the life she thought she deserved at everyone else's expense. Or maybe she's thinking about what she lost. Not the money, not the villa, the trust, the real kind, the kind you can't put in a bank account, the kind that, once broken, doesn't get restructured or refinanced or transferred. It just stays broken. Josie and I don't talk about it much. We don't need to. We went through something that either destroys siblings or binds them together permanently, and we came out on the other side holding hands. I used to feel guilty for being the responsible one, for being the person who sees the numbers, who catches the lies, who does the hard thing while everyone else looks away. I used to think that being the anchor meant being stuck. But I was wrong. Being the anchor means you're the reason nobody drifts too far. You're the reason there's still something to come home to. I didn't save my parents. They haven't earned that yet. But I saved my grandmother's home. I saved my sister's